Antonio Rudiger was born in Berlin and grew up in Neukölln, a rugged area where crime flourished. His parents met in the German capital after they fled Sierra Leone in 1999 amid the ensuing civil war. The future football player's childhood was spent on the streets of a refugee neighborhood. The Rudiger family lived in poverty, but not as badly as it could have been, because they managed to emigrate in time and settle where the sound of bullets, shells and shots fired wasn't heard. A difficult childhood hardened Tony as a person. Rudiger often had to endure ridicule because of his skin color at school. Little Tony often didn't even understand the meaning of the insults, so he asked his parents about them. It was painful for his mom and dad to hear what words their son was called, and most often they simply couldn't say anything. But the time came when Rudy learned German at a sufficient level to know the translation of his peers' words. Having realized how others treated him, Antonio promised himself to defend his own honor. The situation also affected his football style. From an early age, Rudiger began to give the impression of a player who's always ready for an aggressive fight on the pitch, both in the air and on the ground. He always played hard till the end and until there were holes in his boots. That's why he was nicknamed RAMBO on the street. Having improved his game in street football, Tony began to take his first steps towards the big game at the age of 15, although he still doubted his abilities and didn't even dream of a professional career. I always thought of choosing between being a plumber, a baker, or a lawyer because it was the way to provide for the family. I would lie if I said that I dreamed about cars, the Champions League, or something like that. No, for me, football was above all a chance to live in Neukölln with my family. But Rudiger managed to play well and he felt it. For 8 years he played for small amateur clubs, and only after that he went to the Borussia Dortmund Academy, and from there he moved to Stuttgart. A year later, Tony already had a stable place in the Swabian starting lineup and was recognized as the best player in Germany under the age of 19. After several more successful seasons in the Bundesliga, Rudiger was invited to Roma, so he went to Italy. The new country accepted him without much joy and even worse. In 2016, during a derby against Lazio, Antonio was subjected to racist abuse from the Eagles defender Senad Lulic. He hit the German on the pitch, and after the game he told Rudiger to his face that he sold socks in Stuttgart, and now he thinks he's a phenomenon. For his foul language, Lulic received a 20-match suspension and a large fine. But it left a scar on Tony's heart anyway, and he called on Serie A to fight racism more actively. I take this very seriously because I cannot and must not ignore something like this. I am a part of this too. Racism is a serious issue in Italy. When the Italian FA is not doing anything, then FIFA must act. It is easy to come up with the No to Racism campaign, but when you don't do anything, then that does not help. It is easy for people from the outside who do not have the same skin color as we do to say stay calm, don't listen, but the thing is, that way things will not change. Rudiger explained his position. But in spite of such scandals, 2 years at the Roman club were not in vain. Antonio drew the attention of Chelsea and took a step forward in his career. The Blues paid 35 million for the center-back. It is safe to say that Rudiger's best years in football awaited him in London. With Chelsea, he won the FA Cup, the Europa League, the Champions League, the UEFA Super Cup and the Club World Cup. And no matter how often the club changed coaches, Tony continued to play consistently with any specialist, be it Antonio Conte, Maurizio Sarri, Frank Lampard or Thomas Tuchel. Although a few people know that Rudiger is actually an Arsenal fan. I have been following Arsenal since the days of Henry and Bergkamp. I have always dreamed of the Premier League. I watch videos of Arsenal all the time on YouTube and my heart beats for Arsenal, Antonio said at 2014. However, this didn't stop Rudiger from settling at Chelsea for 5 whole years, and during that time he played 200 matches, scored 12 goals, provided 7 assists and had 70 clean sheets. He also became the life of the party in the locker room. Rudy established himself as a DJ who turned on music after winning important matches and started funny dancing. Being funny is something that Antonio is never shy about, and he easily combines humor with the brutality that he shows on the pitch. On the pitch, I am a focused person, no jokes, full focus on the job. But off the pitch, I am a bit like a clown. I like to laugh, I like people to enjoy. For me, the most important thing is that I can laugh about myself. But Rudiger's time at Chelsea came to an end. He was unable to negotiate a new contract with the club and left on a free transfer. PSG, Barcelona and Juventus competed for him, but Tony chose Real Madrid. So far, he hasn't been doing too well in Spain. Rudiger has not yet become a solid starting player and often remains on the bench. At the same time, he speaks well of his relationship with Carlo Ancelotti. I had only been in our new house with my family for a few hours and the bell rang. It was Ancelotti at the door. He sat down at the table with us, ate with us, and got to know my family for like 2 hours. Very normal, very down to earth. No coach has ever done something like that for me. When it comes to dealing with players, Ancelotti is untouchable. Don Carlo is a coaching legend. He has been winning the Champions League title since I was a kid. Working with him every day now and at the most successful club in the world is wonderful. By the way, Rudiger himself remains just as modest. Few people know about this, but the German helps his parents' homeland. Antonio pays for surgeries for the people of Sierra Leone and even donated $101,000 during the active phases of the coronavirus pandemic to provide education for 2 million children. It's amazing how Rudiger, despite the fact that he was insulted by people around him almost all his life, didn't lose his desire to reach the top in football and not only became one of the best center backs in the world, but also remained a very modest, good-natured character. Hats off, Tony. And that's all I wanted to tell you about Antonio Rudiger. Folks, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our project. We are excited to see our community growing. Thank you all for watching and we wish you the most pleasant victories in life as soon as possible, and bye.